Talk about the AstraZeneca D listing, which has now been deferred. GN Gupta, the former ED of SEBI, and Dilip Bhat, the joint MD of Prabhudas Lilladher, both of them join in to talk about this. Morning, gentlemen. Mr. Gupta, I'll start with you first. In your sense, with AstraZeneca, the Indian arm actually deferring the delisting to maybe an unknown or uncertain time going forward, in your sense, how did you read it? Is it a bit of a corporate governance issue according to you?
See, I would say that it is a thing which cannot be explained by the management. The reason is only 3 days back they said that they are having a board meeting first. And in the board meeting what they decide? That they have sought more information.
Sure.
The question is this, whether they were not aware when they got the letter that information is incomplete, or they have sought the more information after the negative reaction to the news in the market as far as the governance aspect is concerned. On the other side, the price has gone up from some X price to Y, as a result of which many investors were led to buy the shares because hoping to make a quick gain. I have no sympathy for the investor because that is their decision. You lose or gain in the thing. But the issue is that an information which was given proved to be either a wrong information or incorrect information, or an information whose time was not correct. So that has led. So me the question is that why the board, the announcement was hasty without worrying whether the information is complete or not. Somebody has to explain that why they went ahead and said that board meeting is called. And they should also explain that what is the information they have called. Tomorrow
Mr. Gupta, you know, just yesterday or day before we spoke with you on, you know, whether the AstraZeneca case is so closely resembling the Freshness Cubby case and whether this is a loophole that SEBI has to plug. If we have time, we'll revisit that. But now, do you think this is adequate case for the SEBI to ask questions about the toing and froing of the AstraZeneca India management?
Yes, certainly, for the simple reason, the news has led to wide fluctuation in the market price. And SEBI is always worried for wide fluctuation in the market price. And especially if the price fluctuation has happened because of the news emanating from the management or company itself. The SEBI should ask that, please tell us why you could not determine that the information was incomplete when you gave the news. And what is the additional information you are asking? Where is the information leaking? And to me, since there was no floor price indicated, to me that was the biggest issue, because if the promoters had said that we want to delist, they would have given a floor price, and there was no floor price given. So that was the incomplete information.
Well, same question to you, Dilip. What do investors in that stock do now? They would have burnt their fingers.
Well, I think in the short run, if you're really going to take positions based on those speculative kind of information, I think either you're going to make money or you're going to lose money. So in this case, probably the investors are losing money. But I think on a broader basis, the company is probably doing reasonably well. So I really would think that even if somebody is making losses at the current level, notwithstanding whether this thing happens or it doesn't happen, this event of delisting happens or doesn't happen, I think on a slightly longer term basis, possibly about 8 to 12 months, I think this company will still give a reasonable return from the current levels. So I think I would advise them to hold on purely from the investment point of view. Speculation is a different ballgame altogether.
Okay. Dilip, I just wanted to bring your attention to a couple of other stocks such as Blue Dart, Honeywell Automation. We have even Atlantis, Beck, 3M India, Sharp India, Novartis, Gillette, a couple of these companies that have already done OFSs, and so maybe they could go for a possible delisting in the future. Would any of these be on your radar in terms of taking an opportunity up at this point in time?
Well, I think the contagion impact is likely to be seen in quite a few of the stocks as far as the delisting issue is concerned. So I think in the last August, if I'm correct, we already saw that this issue was played out and a lot of things really ended in a whimper. So I don't think that one should really see any of these stocks from those point of view, whether those delisting will happen, and if they will happen at what price. So I think those things still is within the realm of speculation. So I don't think that one should look at any of those stocks like that. Rather, I think on a fundamental basis, if they look good, one should buy. But most of the stocks are so illiquid, and probably most of them are not really under our coverage at the moment. So I'm not really in a position to comment on the fundamentals of some of these companies.
Okay. Well, Mr. Gupta, back to you. Normally, what kind of a penalty will this invite? Well, it is left still to speculation whether SEBI will ask the question, and if they ask, how can this be plugged at all?
See, your question is very hypothetical, and my answer will be even more hypothetical, so I will not answer that. Okay. Because I do not know what penalty could be there, what penalty will be there.
Or how can this be curbed at all? You just writing a letter and then what?
See, I tell you, I always believe the governance is not law. Governance is ethics. And unless until all of us become ethical, these things will not stop. So things can be reduced. So if SEBI starts acting, and even, see, the most important risk in life is the reputational risk. Now, if somebody's reputation is at risk, then the person will not like to do this. So if some few cases SEBI starts pulling up this thing, probably things will change. So I would only say that.
All right. Okay. Well, on another issue, on the issue of Maruti, I think the case is now very well known, and the investor displeasure fund, especially big investor displeasure over the manufacturing unit coming in, the JV partners, 100% subsidiary has been looked askance. Is this a case for any proactive work by SEBI at all?
See, till now, there was no case for SEBI to intervene, because it is a purely related party issue, and related parties between the shareholders to approve. If they would, but as of now, related party rules neither from Ministry of Corporate Affairs or from SEBI has come into the being, minority of majority thing. As and when it comes, there is issue. But the other issue is this, that now the second press release of Maruti is in totally contrast to the press release which was issued first. And if you look into the interviews of Mr. Bhargav, they also talk a different story, a different tune. So it is the right time now for SEBI to ask question that what has led to the difference in the first press release to the second press release and all that. And there I think the Maruti will find it very tough to explain, because in the first press release they appear to be very saintly that we are doing it all the benefit of the shareholder, we have no intention of taking out profit, nothing, no return on investment. And if you see the second press release and Mr. Bhargav's interview, they have got every intention to take money out of the plant and to through different means.
Okay, in such a scenario, Mr. Gupta, what would be the procedure which would be followed by SEBI if in case there are fund managers that have complained with regards to this? What would be the technical procedure that we would see in order to take this situation forward?
See, first of all, there is no written down procedure for all such things, but it depends upon every case to case. In this case, since a complaint had come from the institutional investor, the first thing SEBI would have done is to read that complaint and forward it to the Maruti for their response. So that is the normal course. But secondly, with the development of second press release, SEBI has a reason to ask the question suo moto, because they have found the asymmetry of information between first press release and the second press release, and they have a very much right to ask that why you are misleading the investor and what is your real intent. Please tell us.
Fair enough. So now for what the investors make of it, Dilip, what are you telling your Maruti investors, or you're telling your investors with respect to the Maruti stock?
Well, I think Maruti case is not really something which is new at the moment. If you see Cummins, if you see some of the MNC pharmaceuticals, they too have their 100% subsidiaries out over here. And I think people are merely investing in all these companies. So, of course, this is not in the right spirit as what we all understand. But I think by and large, probably once this issue is played out, probably I think it will not be so much of an issue bothering for future investments as far as the investors are concerned. So I would still say that, okay, this is an issue where some amount of punishing and some amount of derating has already happened. So looking at from that angle, probably one needs to take a call whether this particular company looks good. So I think on a core fundamental basis, it certainly looks good. Maybe some amount of derating will still continue. But by and large, I think this is a stock to watch. This is a company to invest in without any doubt.
Okay. Well, Dilip, now we have to come to the broader markets itself. Up above 6350 at this point in time, 1% away from all-time highs. What's your advice to traders and investors at this point? Is there still more juice in the pre-election trade?
Well, I think the last couple of days have seen a lot of positive news for the markets, whether it is the current account deficit coming under control, or whether it is balance of payment, the increase in the exports, or whether Chidambaram really spelling out quite a few measures. And it must be said to the credit of the government that of late quite a few steps have been taken by the government which reinforces confidence in the economy, and that also probably is adequately reflected even in the markets. And even in terms of the FI inflow, I think the amount has gone up in the last 1 week or 10 days or so. So I think by and large markets are mirroring that, and more important, they are actually reflecting the international cues. Now, having said that, I think March being a very slightly vulnerable month, I would still say that maybe it can go by another about 50 to 100 points from here, Nifty. But I think there it should take a pause or it should correct from those levels. So I would advise them to be cautious, at least in the short run. But somewhere I think just before the elections, we will see a pre-election rally shaping up. Broadly is what I think.
Okay, Dilip, how would you approach the bank Nifty? Do you think that it would continue to outperform the Nifty?
Well, I think as what I said, based on whatever steps that Mr. Chidambaram has announced, I think it has given some amount of confidence in the banks and more so in the PSUs, at least in the short run. But by and large, no, I'm not too positive on the banking space. I think the private banks appear to be a little on the overpriced zone, and they are not really in a comfortable zone at the moment.
Okay,
and
Dilip,
as far as the PSU banks are concerned, one probably will have to take a short-term bet instead of a secular long-term bets on them.
Okay.
So actually, no, I'm not really...
No, Dilip, just let me widen Ekta's question. You spoke of a possible pre-election rally. What will you tank up to play that rally?
Well, I think as what market has been doing in the last couple of days, the mid-caps are really rallying because mid-caps are the ones which had really taken it on the chin. So that is one. And the second is, of course, I would concentrate on something on the capital goods and construction space.
Okay.
So something like a Larsen & Toubro, something like Cummins, something like say a Crompton will still attract investors' attention. This is something which I will still recommend. I think even in the software space, something in the mid-cap, something like a Geometric or something like an Emphasis is something which I would recommend even from the current levels in the mid-cap space. Maybe United Phosphorus also looks reasonably good because that stock is still in the comfortable zone at the moment. So it's going to be a select pick of frontline as well as mid-caps.
All right, Dilip, we will leave at that. Thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on the markets, Mr. Gupta.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We have plenty of questions for you to ask how SEBI can plug this perennial problem that seems to arise every time a delisting story is unfolding. But all that for another day, and I guess Menka would anyway have been, getting your views threadbare on that. Thank you very much for joining us today. A break on this, but before that, if you want anything more on this big business story of AstraZeneca or any other economy-related development reported on CNBC TV18, please log on to moneycontrol.com and there you can get all the details.